Convene the regular board meeting. Clerk of the board, please call roll.
Arancibia,
Present.
Hall,
Present.
Segura,
Here.
Solis,
Present.
Tarantino,
Here.
Aguirre,
Here.
Stubblefield.
Here.
Okay, we will now hold a moment of silence in the Pledge of Allegiance, led by our student board member, Ms. Stubblefield.
Place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
Thank you, Ms. Stubblefield. The board met in closed session preceding this meeting to discuss. Can we close the door, please? Thank you. The board met in closed session preceding this meeting to discuss the following issues. 1, student expulsions, suspended expulsions, reinstatements, Education Code Section 48916-48918, students identified by ID number. 2, public employee discipline, dismissal, release, reclassification, reassignment, resignation, transfer, Government Code Section 54957. 3, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, paragraph 2 of subdivision D of Government Code Section 54956.9. 4, conference with labor negotiators, Government Code Section 54957.6. The board took the following action. Moved by Arancibia, seconded by Tarantino, to accept the administrative hearing panel's recommendation to approve the expulsion of one student, with a vote of Arancibia yes, Hall yes, Segura yes, Solis yes, Tarantino yes. Moved by Segura, seconded by Hall, to accept the administrative hearing panel's recommendation to approve the suspended expulsion of one student, with the vote of Arancibia yes, Hall yes, Segura yes, Solis yes, Tarantino yes. Moved by Hall, seconded by Segura, to accept the administrative hearing panel's recommendation to approve the suspended expulsion of one student, with a vote of Arancibia abstain, Hall yes, Segura yes, Solis yes, Tarantino yes. Moved by Segura, seconded by Arancibia, to approve the reinstatement of one student, with a vote of Arancibia yes, Hall yes, Segura yes, Solis yes, Tarantino yes. Moved by Arancibia, seconded by Tarantino, to approve the request for leave of absence for 3 certificated employees, with a vote of Arancibia yes, Hall yes, Segura yes, Solis yes, Tarantino yes. Moved by Arancibia, seconded by Segura, pursuant to Education Code 44954, approve the release of 1 temporary certificated employee, with a vote of Arancibia yes, Hall yes, Segura yes, Solis yes, Tarantino yes. Moved by Arancibia, seconded by Segura, to approve the release of 1 probationary classified employee working in the position of an instructional assistant, with a vote of Arancibia yes, Hall yes, Segura yes, Solis yes, Tarantino yes. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda for the March 14th, 2022 regular board meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Stubblefield,
Yes.
Arancibia,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, we will now have a message from Superintendent Dr. Moises Aguirre.
Thank you, President Solis. So for this update, it'll be rather brief. A couple of things to note. First, we continue to advocate with our officials in Sacramento regarding the state budget. As we all understand, coming out of a pandemic, there's a lot of moving parts to the state budget, but we continue to advocate to ensure that our voice helps inform the policymakers and the budget writers in Sacramento so they understand the impact that they have here at the local level. So we've continued to do that advocacy in Sacramento. Secondly, we took an opportunity with Trustees Segura and Arancibia to visit construction projects at Bonita Vista High School, the installation of an artificial track and field project. At Hilltop Middle, the completion of science classrooms, and also at Mar Vista High School with the ongoing construction of a regional asset, which is the swimming pool. And lastly, wanted to also kind of remind everybody of the message that went out that for our district, we are going to be transitioning from a requirement of face masks on April 4th, and we will transition. We're in a place where they're mandated to a place where we are going to strongly recommend face masks. So even though the requirement may not necessarily be there, we will continue to strongly recommend the usage of face masks, although they will no longer be required. So with that, that's my brief update. And as we head into spring break, the last meeting before spring break, I also want to remind everybody to be safe. We will be providing all of our staff and our students with the antigen tests, and we will be asking that they use those prior to returning from the spring, before we return from the spring break. And if you're test positive, to ensure that you stay home. And so again, we continue to ask everybody to be safe as we continue to move from a place of a pandemic to an endemic situation with COVID-19. And so with that, that's my update.
Thank you, Dr. Aguirre. We will now have a report from Student Board Representative, Ms. Gabriel Stubblefield.
Good evening. During this past month, several schools have participated in Kindness Week with an emphasis on being kind to our minds, bodies, and hearts. Additionally, I, along with other students who are interested in mental health in our district, had the honor of participating in the Sweetwater Union High School District Mental Health and Well-Being Student Leadership Council, where we discussed different ways we can prioritize mental health among students, staff, and communities. We also had some students in our district attend the Mind Out Loud conference, where they had the chance to discuss mental health with representatives and community members from across the U.S. The discussion of student mental health and well-being will be continued into next year, where we can further develop systems for student mental health and well-being. I would also like to say, as I am also applying to several programs over the summer, good luck to the students who may be applying to schools and summer programs, and good luck to the students who are getting acceptance letters from such. I would also like to say that I hope everyone has a great evening and a great spring break. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stubblefield. This is the point on the agenda where members of the public may address the board on any matter not on the agenda and have 3 minutes each to do so. Pursuant to board bylaw, the board may limit the time for public comment on any single topic to 20 minutes per topic. The Board of Trustees cannot legally take action on or respond to matters not posted on the public agenda, but will refer the matter to the superintendent's office for review and report. Speakers shall refrain from using profanity and shall speak in a respectful manner. Thank you for your cooperation.
Gina Donato Palmore.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, you can.
Yes,
Go
yes.
ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Board of Trustees and Dr. Aguirre. Dr. Aguirre, I'm calling to address the elimination of the position of counselor on special assignment who district-wide support our students who are in foster care and our students and families who are experiencing homelessness. Although I currently hold this position, I am speaking of the need of having a COSA whose specific focus is our youth in transition. I will be addressing this in third person because this is about the position and not the person. The area of need that the COSA addresses is the need for increased support related to personal, social, emotional, and academic development for students in all 26 school sites who are in foster care and students experiencing homelessness. The COSA, with the support of the program manager, coordinates district-wide projects to increase awareness of experiences, needs, support, and rights of youth in transition. The COSA provides school site support staff a monthly report of their respective students with information on their attendance, credits, grades, graduation status. The COSA collaborates and consults with schools and district staff regarding enrollment rights, emergency resources, referrals to community agencies. The COSA provides and facilitates professional development to support youth in transition. The COSA participates in IEPs, meetings with the San Diego County of Education liaisons, and meetings with social workers. Without the COSA, I ask you, who is going to do this? The COSA works closely with school counselors to obtain out-of-district transcripts, evaluate transcripts, consult on graduation requirements, and consult on students' best placements and support. Without the COSA, I ask you, who is going to do this? The COSA consults with post-secondary institutions on programs and supports they offer. The COSA initiates contact between the student and counselors of these institutions for that gentle handoff and follows up to ensure that the students are comfortable and knowledgeable of the next step. Without the COSA, I ask you, who's going to do this? More important, the COSA provides individual support to students, establishing a trusted relationship that is built upon trauma-informed lens. Yes, counselors on site do this too for all their students. The difference between the site counselors and the COSA is the sole focus of the population of students the COSA support. Students do not need to repeat their situation, which is traumatizing, to explain their academic situation or their attendance. The COSA is their advocate in reaching out to school staff. Students have no need to feel embarrassed or worry about judgment when completing their financial aid applications, college applications, and scholarship applications. The COSA assists students with this application during school hours and more often after work hours. Without the COSA, I ask you, who is going to do this? I hope the answer is obvious. Thank you.
Thank you.
Katina Randall.
Good evening. Katina Rondo speaking as an individual. I ask everyone listening tonight, does your family feed their children first, or do the adults feed themselves first and participate in gorge and gluttony? Student programs and services have been cut, and it's the students who are left with the hunger pains of this district's decisions. Why? Because not too long ago, you needed to make some deep, painful cuts, and students are feeling it the most. A promise of an all-ed committee was to look into those impacts. Many students must travel very far now at their expense to get to a program that offers 2 hours of instructional support a day. If they're not fortunate enough to get to one of the 3 learning centers, they are offered other all-ed programs, and many have landed in a model that offers 30 minutes each week. That model is growing faster and exploding with the new enrollees. This program has over 750 students, served by 1 psychologist and 2 counselors. That's it. These 3 employees are supposed to address all the needs of this district's most emotionally sensitive, at-risk, homeless, foster youth, the children most in need. The IS program works well for both SPED and Gen Ed students. However, there are students that it does not work for. Families want more and feel that they have been pushed out of services. The district offers them so little, and the IS is often all they've got. Many sure they feel pinched into that decision. I'm speaking for those kids and families that want more, need more, and have asked for more. When families ask for more, they're told no. Why? What happened to the ESSER funds for these students? What happened to the promise of really digging in deep and exploring solutions to issues regarding our services in all ed? The all ed committee meetings never amounted to any presentation to this board to date. Be careful when you are just asking Dr. Vernon Moore for an update. That will never really get you a report or presentation. Perhaps there should be a report and presentation at every board meeting. Furthermore, I insist that this board insists that there's always a SPED voice on that committee. In last week's meeting, the SPED director was not present. But then again, Dr. Moore notified folks on Monday indicating there'd be a meeting in 2 days. Michelle Stern Gonzalez and a SPED teacher need to be a voice on there. I wanted to share that I was notified Friday that one of the families I served had gotten an attorney. They apologized to me and didn't want me to get in trouble. I explained that wouldn't happen. If we can't afford, or I should say, if we can't afford so many new management positions, can we not afford services for our students? If declining enrollment is true, why do we have such a bloated management? Is it because the superintendent has zero experience as a superintendent and still has no administrative credential? Do we need to pay so many people to make up for his lack of expertise to get the job done? This district has bloated its management. The board has increased their wages, given general counsel over 10% pay increase plus pay raises every year. How can they say they can't afford programs and services for students or give their teachers a raise? Teachers have carried the greatest workload since the superintendent began. We have worked longer and harder, yet this board, in addition to increasing their wages, has reduced its workload to only 1 meeting per month. Furthermore, that 1 meeting per month is shortened and reduced to only allowing our whole entire community to speak on one topic matter for 20 minutes max. I recall Mr. Segura, Ms. Hall asking the district to cut from the top. Over and over, they kept saying it, cut from the top. What happened? How did we get here? Lastly, I just want to say that the district's new director of labor relations may seem like a win to you, but perhaps I should give you some greater insight. Come on now. We've worked with the guy. We know his vulnerabilities. You can have him. Nothing gained in my eyes. I pray that when one of yours leaves you for us, that he or she has the superpowers of all the inside scoop of your district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle Beal.
Good evening. My hope was to speak to the board in person tonight, but with gas prices being over $6 a gallon and not having received a cost of living adjustment for some time, a teleconference is just going to have to do. I'm here tonight to discuss a few items. First, while the district continues to send a no layoffs message to the public, let's remember there are no new layoffs because those who were laid off 2 years ago are still waiting to be recalled. District, you can't lay them off twice. That would just be cruel, even by Sweetwater standards. Second, it's not only extremely exhausting to have to address the board repeatedly on providing direct services to our foster and homeless youth, but it's frustrating that you simply don't seem to understand the importance of direct services for this population of students. The district's decision to cut the counselor and special assignment, which provides direct services to our foster and homeless youth, is very disappointing, and it just shows how disconnected you are with the needs of this population. This population is our most at risk and has the greatest need for direct services to not only stay engaged in school, but to keep them safe and connect them with services outside of school. It's mind-blowing that the entire country is focused on how to address homelessness and provide direct services to the homeless and hopefully help them transition off homelessness, and yet Sweetwater, who gets roughly $1 million and can continue to fund a position that provides direct services, is more focused on how to hire managers to write reports on what great things the district is doing for our homeless population. Yes, that's exactly what our homeless and foster kids need, a really good report. That's going to provide them a warm place to sleep at night and food to eat. Dr. Aguirre, you and I have had multiple conversations about the importance of addressing the needs of the foster and homeless youth in this district. In fact, on December 6th, when you called me, you said, I think you and I got off on the wrong foot. To which I responded, the only foot I'm on is the one that does what's right for kids, and I still stand by that statement today. Over the course of other conversations, you've said you understand the need and importance of doing what's right for foster and homeless youth, yet your actions, cutting direct services to those kids, shows otherwise. In January, I shared with you and the board how I was actively working with organizations to sponsor a back-to-school event for all our foster and homeless youth so that each one would be able to get a haircut, a backpack, school supplies, brand new outfit, a brand new pair of shoes, and possibly a bike. I explained that I've been in communication with the Lucky Duck Foundation, the Larry Himmel Foundation, We See You San Diego, People's Association of Justice Advocates, Little Tommy Sablon, and I've been fundraising on my own to help make this event a success. Do you understand how frustrating it is that I'm spending all of my time practically begging for money and goods for these students, while the district continues to cut direct services to these students? I just don't understand why we're continuously working against each other. I don't understand why these community organizations seem to care more about our students than you do. So tonight, when each one of you goes home and asks your kids how their day was, what they had for dinner, or when you send them off to bed, just remember there's a population of kids in this district that aren't fortunate enough to have any of those things or parents to check on them. You can and you should want to do better for these kids.
Thank you.
I now have 18 speakers to the topic of SCA. I don't know if you'd like to take them all, limit the time, limit the speakers.
Is everybody okay with 2 minutes for speaker? Over here, 2 minutes per speaker.
2 minutes per speaker? Okay. Gretel Rodriguez. There may be some in A and B. I'll call 3 or 4 names at a time, and if you're in the other room or outside, you can come into the boardroom. Gretel Rodriguez, Jerry Hale, Katrine Chikowski, and Allie Sanders. Julie, you want to begin?
Sure.
You're in the room.
Come in since I'm here.
Yes.
Thank you. As president of the Sweetwater Education Association, I usually receive the first draft of our bargaining team update sometime the evening of the bargaining date or the next morning. I have a great team. Imagine my surprise when the very first time my team meets with the district to negotiate the 2021-2022 contract, they are done in less than 2 hours. My initial thoughts, what happened? This isn't right. We have a full contract to negotiate with 15 open articles. Then I read the draft report, 2% off schedule for 2 years. The district is going to have a net increase of funding over 10% this year and next. And that money goes out in the out years, as Dr. Salkeld likes to say. Why is the district offering no salary increase with such a large cost of living adjustment? Why do they have additional contingency reserves? Why do they have $131 million in textbooks? The last time our salary schedule saw an increase was in 2017. The increase was not what caused the financial crisis in this district. An inability to account for the money was. We are now falling behind other San Diego districts in compensation, and we are losing certificated employees. When you see the list of employees resigning, they are leaving us for other school districts who have better pay and benefits. We are losing quality teachers and other certificated staff, and this hurts students. The offer by the district given at the table also hurts students. You have employees who are wondering if they're able to pay their bills. You have employees who have given their all to their students, and they are demoralized. How can I feel valued as an employee when the district doesn't feel I am worth the pay and benefits that other districts are allowed to give? All of our feeder districts are giving pay raises. Please, please, find it. You can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gretel Rodriguez?
Greta Rodriguez, speaking as an individual, because what I'm about to say, I'm sure my union will either support it or not. Roberto Rodriguez, I don't understand how you betrayed the union that trained you, that prepared you, and you told me you would never, ever work on that side and get paid. You would do it for free. And here you are, 9 years later, after mentoring me and telling me your union, you betrayed us. And the psychological effect of that, I will turn that around because I'm not associated with sellouts. I stand by my union, and I will be 1,000% union every day. Do you understand that? How betrayed we are by you switching seats on us. These people gave up their health. Some teachers watched some parents die, students die. We gave you our resources, we gave you our electricity, our computers, our internet, in order to support this school and to support our students and our community. There isn't a community or organization that I will not reach out to. I'm standing by our union. Don't divide us. Members, when you're out there, I support you. Do not let them divide us. Don't go after, support temporary teachers. Do not let them start giving you options that make us go against each other. I'm for the underdog. There isn't a site that I haven't been at, that I haven't fought for our members. For the underdog at that site, we have to be unified. We're gonna be strong and we're gonna beat this, because I'm not going anywhere until we win.
Thank you.
Jerry Hale? Or Katrine?
Hi, everybody. Dr. Aguirre, board, everybody else. My name is Katrina Jakowski, and I am a teacher at Mar Vista High School. This is my 32nd year in the Sweetwater Union High School District. I was recently named the Teacher of the Year at Mar Vista High School. And the last time I had that honor was 1998, when I represented our district as one of our Teachers of the Year, and I was a finalist at the county level. How things have changed in our district since then. In addition to working at Mar Vista, I have served in an administrative capacity. I currently sit on the Commission on Teacher Credentialing's Committee on Accreditation, so I've seen a lot of school districts in a lot of places in a lot of parts of our state. We must be better than this. In 32 years, I have not addressed the board on matters like this. And I'm doing this because I have concern for the future of our district and what we are doing to support members of our community and the children who live in our regions. I've been busy with 175 students on my roster, but in listening to negotiations so far, it seems to me like we're playing a game. Give them a little, then let them return, and then give them a little more, and then we'll go back and forth. I feel like we're playing a game that could have been played 30 years ago. I would like to simply make a statement about my 32 years in education. I have never worked this hard as a teacher in any capacity than I have in the last 2 years. Teaching online, I am not a dinosaur. I can whip Pear Deck, I can do Flipgrid, I can do Google quizzes, I can do things in real time. I had to learn all that stuff on my own. Then I have to try to read students' facial expressions from the brow of their nose up. I have to ensure that students know I love them when I can't hug them. I have to project my voice through a mask and try to ensure that they understand humor. That deserves more than simple acknowledgement. It deserves a 5%. It deserves something our feeder districts have managed to give their teachers, and you're the people who can do right by us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Allie Sanders? Allie Sanders? Oh.
Please forgive me if it takes me a moment. My apraxia is quite bad at the moment. Good evening, Superintendent Aguirre, board, and guests. My name is Allie Sanders, and I am a teacher at Otay Ranch High School and have been a teacher in this district for 20 years. I am also a proud graduate of this district. I chose to return to my home to carry out my teaching career. I think anyone who knows me would say that I give my all to the students that I interact with at ORHS. On May 18th, 2020, I had a stroke. I spent the next 10 weeks fighting to regain my ability to walk, talk, and think at the level necessary to return to the job that I love. On August 3rd, 2020, I joined my colleagues around the district as we began one of the most challenging experiences any of us have ever experienced. We taught all of our classes from home, all 176 students. In between teaching 5 full classes of students, coaching the Quiz Bowl team virtually, participating as a member of the school's FAC, and the myriad of other responsibilities of being a teacher, I also attended weekly therapy sessions in the hopes of regaining more of my abilities. I am still in therapy to help my recovery. I did everything and more that the district asked me. I taught my classes. I have offered an understanding ear to students who are struggling. I have given grace to those who need it. I take care of my students. I take care of my colleagues. And then I take care of myself. Why? Because that's what a good leader does. A good leader takes care of those that they care for, those who matter to them. Now I'm asking you, why are you not taking care of us? Why are you putting us last? We, the teachers, we have kept this district functioning for years. And the thanks that we have gotten for all of our hard work, our dedication, and our commitment to this district is a slap in the face. I'll go back to something that has been said for years. You can't put students first if you put teachers last.
Jerry Hale, Morgan Clark, Yanira Bolanes, Tom Leet. Oh, is it Jesse? I'm sorry. They look like ours. Oh, I don't have him on the line. Kirk Braeto. Chris Elam. The rest you can come into the boardroom if you're in A and B.
Hi, folks. Good to see you tonight. Well, not really. I'd rather be a million other places. So first, I would like to say check your sources. So Jenny Money's job is to be conservative and to give you guys a bunch of conservative numbers and to say the world's going to end in 3 years and we'll have 2 students left in our district. I mean, to be fair, there's a way to make that happen, which is what you're doing now. Because I looked up the numbers this week, get a $5,000 raise if I go to San Diego Unified next year. $5,000. Do you know what kind of vacation I could take post-COVID with that? It would be beautiful. Nothing that I've ever done as a teacher. I'm last year's Teacher of the Year, one of 6 finalists for the county. If you really want to lose those of us at the top end of that scale to go over there for that kind of salary, bye. Because I am done with this drama. 8 years ago today, we voted for a strike vote. 8 years ago today. I am so over this. I am so over this. I've been pink slipped by the district 3 times. Been there, done that, over it. And we continue to get this disrespect. This spring, that whole BS lie of everybody must teach hybrid or you will get fined. Guess what? No other district in the county did that other than your teachers. And what did we get for that? An hour of pay. An hour. $75 a week. Yeah. Do you know what an insult that was? As I logged in every day. Okay, I've got you 38 because we got 40 plus in the classroom, even though you don't believe that. I got you 38 here. Okay, so wait. Okay, AZ. Okay, I got you 4 AZ. Okay, so let me talk to you guys. Wait, no. Okay, so you guys, I need you to do this for a minute. Let me do this. No one else in the county did that. So that was just a big old lie y'all made. You need to not believe her numbers. You need to not believe that we're going to not have anybody left. Unless you continue this, then we won't have anybody left. And you need to look at who you're going to lose. I talked about this 6 months ago, I think, when San Diego Unified offered the extra $3,000 for special ed teachers. So they're giving a signing bonus. They're giving an increased pay. This is the first time in my 23 years where I could make more money in Gross Modern Unified. For 23 years, I could make more money here. And now you're going to do this and insult us. Like, I've worked for many of you. I busted my butt to get you up there. And not because I wanted favors in return, but because I thought you respected teachers. And you don't. Side note, why in the age of climate change do we have a bottle with a plastic cup on top of every desk when you all bring your own water bottles?
Thank you.
Morgan Clark.
My name is Morgan Clark. I'm a teacher at Otay Ranch High School. 2 years ago, the day before school shut down due to a nationwide pandemic, I was riffed. For months leading up to that decision, I was in this very room begging for my job. And here I am again today because once again, I need to beg for my livelihood as the school district places teachers last on the list of priorities. Let me tell you a little bit about my life, taking home $48,000 a year after taxes. I live in a 700 square foot apartment that I rent because I can't save up enough for a down payment on any kind of property, even a tiny condo. My apartment does not include a garage or yard, so I park my 2004 Toyota Matrix with 300,000 miles on it on the street. My commute is 20 miles in each direction because I cannot afford to live in the same neighborhood that my students live in. All I want is to be able to buy a home and build equity like my older colleagues, and I simply cannot do that with my current rate of pay. I pour a lot into my job. I'm on FAC, I'm PLC lead, I'm a union rep. I advise for clubs. Like many people I know, I work over breaks. I attend extracurricular activities. I try my best with what I've been given to educate my students. I deserve to be able to have more of a life than renting my tiny apartment on a loud street with a long commute. And while we're talking about what people deserve, our new teachers deserve to have job security without having to switch campuses every year due to being repeatedly let go and rehired on temporary contracts. My department alone has 4 temporary teachers out of a department of 16. A math teacher told me that's 25%. And I don't even know how many more temporary teachers there are on my campus. These teachers have been working for the district for 2 years with no job security. They understandably don't want to take on extra responsibilities for a district that has proven time and time again they do not care about them. They don't want to build a program only to have it ripped from their hands when they are let go at the end of the year and hired back the day before school starts at yet another school site where they need to get to know everyone and everything all over again.
This has resulted in a strain for all teachers as we are the ones who have to welcome them onto our campuses. This cannot go on forever. Look at any teacher or school staff Facebook group, and it will be filled with people asking for the best way to make a career change. This district is hemorrhaging talented teachers to better paid and better staffed districts that actually provide the support they need to do their jobs. Raise pay for teachers, support and campus staff, and give the temporary teachers in our district permanent contracts before they go looking for greener pastures. Thank you.
Yanira Bolanos?
Buenas tardes, good afternoon. I graduated from Sweetwater, class of 1993.
Could you get closer to the mic, please?
My kids,
Sorry.
my girl is graduating from Otay High School. She has come to my house telling me, Mom, I love the class with Mr. Heredia today. I love the class with Mr. Welch, math class, oh my God, this and that, and telling me everything about the classes that she has. And by the way, I'm here as a parent because teachers get no respect, okay? I'm here because whenever I have a problem with my daughter's education, I am the first one to go and face the teachers and say, what are you gonna do for my daughter? I wanna see what you're gonna be doing to help my daughter. But today, I'm here to ask you, what are you gonna do to support my daughter's teachers? What is it that you're gonna offer them? What is it that you're gonna be giving them? Because you know what? Those teachers cannot take a day off. They're either covering somebody else's classes or they do not have a sub to take over. When are you gonna go subbing those classes? So you know what it is like. When? I care for my daughter's teachers. Do good. And the board, I voted for you. I'm gonna keep on voting. So earn your keep.
Tom Lee?
Good evening, Board President. I'm Tom Leet, SEA Treasurer and teacher at Eastlake High School. And I think the last time I was here in person, I got upset and yelled at you because negotiations were stalled because you weren't really negotiating. That was when you were in the process of firing over 200 teachers to balance your budget. I just want to say, when I came to this district 18 years ago as a second career coming from scientific research, this district had competitive pay. It was an attractive place to work, and that's part of why I came here to Sweetwater. I can tell you now, 18 years later, you're behind. Your pay scale is behind your competitor districts. You're paying less than San Diego Unified. They are the 800-pound gorilla. You don't have the benefits they have. So what kind of new teacher is going to come here? What kind of second career teacher is going to come here? I was outside my school today with all of my fellow teachers looking around going, that's a lawyer, that's an engineer, that's ex-military, that's a scientist. Where are you going to find that talent if you don't pay for it? So you got a problem that you need to fix. But I'm also here because I'm upset, in case you haven't heard. Come on. The last 2 years, you know what's happened? We had to reinvent teaching so many times. We had to reinvent teaching first from home, then do it in hybrid when things were still going bad, then teach all in person with a classroom that, is much more crowded than this room is, okay? And then we had to do it hybrid, teaching both in person at home at the same time. The last 2 years, and particularly this last year, has been the year of there's always one extra thing to think about, and we're so tired. And now the extra thing to think about is I got to stand in a parking lot and yell at a building because I want a raise for the first time in 5 years. The reason we haven't had a raise in 5 years is because this district mismanaged itself into a financial disaster. And we've been patient, and we have waited, and we have carried the waters for you. It is time for you to honor what we have done. Thank you, and I give you this. Negotiate, don't dictate.
Kirk Brado? And then we have Stephanie Hubner, Jessica Davis, and Austin Hurst.
Hi, Kirk Brito, Rancho Del Rey Middle School, also known as Captain Kirk from Royal Robotics. We just competed in the state championship. I did my whole Sunday. Teachers retooled their entire job and worked overtime to quickly transition to distance learning to ensure that our students got the best education possible during the pandemic. Did you value that? Teachers ponied up and took a pay cut by dropping 3 days to help the district when it was in a financial crisis that we had no part in creating. Did you value that? Teachers do more with less for our students as more and more 200,000 plus people that we don't need fill the district office. Shame on you, Roberto. Okay? You clearly value that. If you look at the money, it's there. The robotics coaches, district coordinators, support staff provide an amazing STEAM experience. We just hosted 2 full weekends of the state championships here in our district. We have highly professional tournaments, qualify for states and even worlds. I've done that twice. We were at states this weekend. Do you value that? We don't feel valued. We don't feel valued. I'm considering leaving Sweetwater. My home is Rancho. It's where I made my career. I love everything about it. I love my students. I love the program that I've created with my sweat. I'm considering leaving. I'm one of those teachers that you might lose. Direct your bargaining team to make a fair and honorable settlement to show us that you actually do value us. Or you're going to lose a lot of very valuable employees.
Thank you.
Jessica Davis. Austin Hurst.
Hi, my name is Austin Hurst. I work at Rancho with Kirk. I'm a science teacher. And I just want to give you a snapshot of what I've done during distance learning for my students. Most of the time, my apartment complex was under construction. I had to teach from inside a closet one time because the jackhammering and backhoe noises were so loud I couldn't hear my students. And then I get a note on my door in October that says, hey, you have 60 days to move out because we're just going to demolish the whole thing. So on day 58 of 60, I finally signed a lease because I didn't have a choice anymore. And to my horror, there was nothing even remotely affordable from what I used to pay. I am now paying $400 a month more for a smaller apartment in a worse neighborhood with no parking lot, no laundry on site, and I'm just trying to live. So, we all know what's happening with gas prices, inflation. There was on NPR the other day, I'm going into work, and it says San Diego has become the most unaffordable city in the United States. So I'm just asking you guys to help me. I mean, I'm trying to be a good teacher for my students. But I have a master's degree from UCSD. I've worked for the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. I've worked for the National Marine Fisheries Service. You are about to lose me because I can't afford to stay in this district. And I gotta tell you, I have friends that graduated with me from UCSD and other districts, and they're telling me, you know what? Come on over, because it's a lot better. And I don't want to leave. Rancho's been my home, and I love my students, but I might not have a choice. So please, guys, help me out, okay? I'm just trying to stay here and be a teacher for my students. I need your help. All right, thank you.
Mary Doyle.
Hi, my name's Mary Doyle. I'm going to read from my phone, but I forgot my glasses, so. Hello, board. My name's Mary Doyle. I'm a Spanish teacher at Mar Vista High, and I know the ultimate decision on our contract negotiations and raise lies in your hands. You 5 receive information from your superintendent, your financial people, your labor person. Hi, Roberto. And let me just decline that phone call. You learn what the district can afford. You hear about our governor's budget. You weigh what other districts are negotiating. You consider that what SEA gets, counselors may get, CSA may get, and ultimately administrators get. You wonder, will we notice? You think maybe we won't. You wonder, will I run again for school board? Well, I wonder that. Have I truly served our community and kids? Am I exhausted by the pandemic experience? I don't know. It's tough to be a public servant. You wonder, what are all those extra things that classroom teachers, librarians, speech therapists, and our true heroes that are the school nurses, what have they done since 2020? You wonder, what did they really do over these last 2 years to keep those kids learning, to keep our students feeling safe, to build up morale and community? You wonder, and you listen to your bargaining team, and they say, give them some extra COVID money and keep them quiet. You do have an ex-CTA employee and SEA Prez as your labor person. You know the playbook. That will be enough. They will not notice. We just got our positive budget last December. There's a financial cliff next year. ADA will matter again. No can do. Yet I recently learned that the cliff may become a 3-year averaged out slope. There are no early tells for retirement this year, so you may be thinking of a golden handshake next year. It's hard to find teachers. They are leaving. And yet you offer us a pittance, a one-time handout, a pat on the head, a thank you very much, close the door on your way out. I have one more paragraph. Believe me, I understand the tough decisions and grueling Zoom meetings you have endured over the last few years. I have a foot in both worlds, and I can honestly say that what has occurred in the classroom this year between illness, behavior, loss, and everything else that's been going on has truly been a once-in-a-career, and I hope once-in-a-career experience. Much tougher than an extra remote Zoom. It's rather real being in the room. Please do not insult us with this offer. A permanent raise will draw teachers to this field and to this region. I know some of you personally, and I thank you for your hard work, but I really thought a quorum of you would look at what is going on in this planet and in this region and give us the permanent raise that we deserve without this tired choreography. Thank you for listening. Go back and ask your bargaining team not to insult us.
Thank you.
Emma Romero.
¿Se puede poner una máscara, por favor? Gracias.
Antes de empezar, ojalá me den mis 3 minutos porque creo que soy la única que viene a hablar en favor de los estudiantes, ya que todos vienen a hablar de lo mismo, de dinero.
So all the people have been talking about other rights. I want to speak about the students at the district.
Tenía una pregunta en mente y creo que ya la confirmé allá afuera, con esa protesta de maestros que vienen a exigir dinero, dinero, dinero.
I had a question, but I think I have the answer, listening to all the teachers outside asking for money, money, money.
De todas maneras, voy a hacer la pregunta. Las restricciones, las máscaras, lockdown, las vacunas, ¿son por la salud de los estudiantes o por los beneficios, por el dinero que reciben del gobierno federal y del gobierno estatal?
All the COVID restrictions that we have, using masks, getting vaccines, social distancing, all of this is because of the money you are receiving or because you're worried about the health of the staff and students.
Y parece que ya fue respuesta a esa pregunta aquí afuera. Qué triste que solamente hablen de dinero en esta crisis.
In this crisis, people are only talking about money, and this is very frustrating and sad.
En serio no encuentro las palabras, parecen una bola de buitres nada más queriendo desmenuzar el dinero que es de los estudiantes, de nuestros hijos, no de ellos ni de ustedes.
The money is for our kids, for the students, and I don't understand why people are over the money that is not yours and it's not the teachers, it's for the students.
Porque escuché a alguien que dijo, oh, esto se hace por los maestros, nosotros somos el motor. No, señores, ustedes, los maestros no son lo más importante, son los estudiantes y ustedes trabajan para los estudiantes.
I don't think the teachers are the most important part here. I think the students are, and you teachers work for our students.
Nosotros como padres nos han quitado todos los derechos sobre nuestros hijos en esta pandemia.
we as parents, we don't have rights anymore for our kids that has been denied our rights.
Y supuestamente actualizaron el 11 de marzo sobre las máscaras y que se iban a seguir por las guías del CDC y de esas instituciones.
On March 11, you said we're going to go with the guidelines of not using the mask or about using the mask for COVID.
Pero nosotros desde el 11 de enero recibimos un mensaje por email donde nos dicen que para el próximo ciclo escolar 2022-2023 van a ser obligatorias las vacunas.
On January, we all parents receive an email saying that vaccinations are going to be mandatory.
¿Y eso por qué? Si todavía, creo que todavía ni las habían aprobado para todos los niños, ¿por qué han tomado una decisión anteriormente a las decisiones del CDC? O peor aún, ¿por qué en contra de los padres?
Why did you make that decision against parents, and why are you going against the CDC?
Y les vuelvo a repetir, da vergüenza que se hable solamente de dinero, de beneficios, y dónde están la salud de nuestros hijos. Y van a decir, oh, con las máscaras, oh, con las vacunas. Yo no estoy vacunada y aquí estoy.
It's shameful to speak about money and rights when we're not considering the students, and I'm not vaccinated, and I'm still here fighting for the rights.
Thank you. En serio que me quedo asombrada de todo eso que miré allá afuera. Venía en mente con decir otras cosas. Solamente les voy a decir una cosa. Un país sin libertad, sin democracia, no es nada, es una dictadura.
I have no words. I was going to tell you something else, but I was distracted with what I heard outside. And this country without freedom, without a dictation, is nothing.
¿Desde cuándo el distrito, los maestros pueden decidir lo que es mejor para nuestros hijos?
Since when the district and the teachers can decide what's best for our kids?
Por si no han leído algo así, hay estudios psicológicos donde los niños, por todas estas restricciones, han aumentado los suicidios y los intentos de suicidio. Por cada persona joven que se ha suicidado, hay 20 más que han intentado suicidarse por estas restricciones.
Because of these restrictions, the suicide amongst young kids, teenagers, have increased. For 1 in any 20 kids have tried at least to commit suicide.
Han deformado a los estudiantes, su forma psicológica, mental, espiritual y física. Su salud la han deteriorado, porque ahora los muchachos no son libres ni caminar por las calles sin una máscara. Y no me digan que no se han dado cuenta. Los maestros están preocupados por los estudiantes, por favor.
You are imposing the kids to wear masks. They don't have freedom to go outside and to walk without the mask or to be at school freely. And then the teachers say that they worry about the students.
Y estoy en muchos grupos. ¿Y saben qué? Los padres de familia no apoyamos a los maestros, para que lo sepan. Y creo que se han dado cuenta, casi puros maestros. Muchas gracias.
And you can see that the parents are not supporting the teachers. And that's how we only have teachers right now in here. Thank you.
Thank you. Gracias.
Jessica Davis.
Good evening, Board. I see you quite often at various events, and I hate to say this, but I wasn't planning to speak tonight. However, before I do so, I do want to make it clear that that woman was allowed to speak for well over 5 minutes with her mask underneath her nose when she admitted she had not been vaccinated, and that puts all of us at risk. Okay? So, what I really want to say is that you have heard from many of my colleagues, many of whom I greatly admire and hope someday to be like. I am at school every day early. I am there late every day. I am at every possible event that I can put my voice to on behalf of my colleagues and my students, and by product, you. The idea that you are treating us at the bargaining table with the lack of respect that you have shown is not only disappointing, it is absolutely infuriating. Our bargaining team was at the table with you all 40 times during the COVID crisis. We have sacrificed, we have been over backwards, we have been team players. You like to call us your labor partners. Now is the time for you to treat us like your labor partners. I was not that surprised that the opening offer was low. What I was surprised about and what I am absolutely angry about is that the approach was, this is your first, last, and best offer. That's not fair. That's not good bargaining. That's not bargaining in good faith. We deserved better treatment than that. We have certainly shown you better treatment than that. And as I teach my students every day, treat people as you would wish to be treated. That's all we're asking for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Meg Garcia. Meg Garcia.
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Board. This is Meg Garcia. Sorry that I can't be there in person, but I've been there quite often in my 25 years at Sweetwater District, so hopefully you'll remember my face. So everyone who knows me knows that I love to discuss tradition, especially when it comes to Sweetwater High School. I'm a graduate of Sweetwater High School. My mom was a district employee for Junior Martinez for 38 years. Taught at Sweetwater adult school, thank you, and retired from Hilltop High School. And so in my time talking about tradition, I realized tonight that there's a tradition that I wish I didn't have. One of my earliest memories of my mom is standing up in the back of a pickup truck with a bullhorn yelling about teachers' rights, about respect for teachers, about fair pay for teachers. And I watched that through elementary, through junior high, through high school. My 26-year-old daughter has been at rallies with me. My 16-year-old has been at rallies with me. And if there is one tradition that I would like to do away with, it's the tradition of having us fight and fight and fight. The things that I've heard tonight that have resonated and have come through loud and clear, questions like, why don't you take care of us? Statements like, I have worked harder in the last 2 years than in my entire career. The fact that everyone, students and teachers, have done everything that you have asked us to do. And that us right now is students and teachers. We have done everything you have asked us to do. I would like for you to end this tradition of making us fight and join us. Let's truly be us. Start a new tradition. That tradition should be to honor your teachers as they have honored our students. And I'm going to say, just because I'm tired and just because I'm tired of fighting, it doesn't mean that I'm going to stop. Good evening.
Thank you.
Van 2. Van 2. If you're in A and B, you can come over to the boardroom. Samuel Sandoval. Stephanie Hubner.
Hi, it's your favorite teacher librarian again. I'm here tonight because it's a special month. It's National Library Month, and it's the ever-famous Dr. Seuss's birthday month. Last year, 19-year-old poet laureate Amanda Gorman, in her poem, The Hill We Climb, stated regarding the future of America that our blunders become their burdens. At such a young age, she's so wise. We continue to do a disservice to the children in this district as our library services continue to be subpar. Library services in the middle school all but cease to exist. the East Side still has a disproportionate amount of library services offered. Our children are fed technology but starved of authentic literary experiences and opportunities because of the financial blunders of this district. But Amanda Gorman also states, if we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. We will not leave a love of literacy behind if we do not reopen our libraries. I know that many of you come from a district that no longer values literacy as it once did. San Diego Unified shut its library doors many years ago, and some of the official leaders in this district are the reason that those libraries are closed today. We must not let that happen in our South Bay district. We must fight for our students' right to read. In the words of the Lorax, thanks to Dr. Seuss and Read Across America Week, I was reminded that unless someone cares a whole awful lot, nothing's going to get better. It's not. Just like the last of our truffula trees, we're losing our libraries. And I look at you, district officials, and I look at you, to all of the Sweetwater board, and I say, are you going to let the truffula trees of our library be chopped down? We're no longer in a financial crisis now that we've shown stability. Why haven't we reopened our libraries? Money is never going to be more important than the ability to read. Money is never going to replace the experience that a student needs to have with a library in order to be successful in the collegiate world. Let us not let our blunders become their burdens. I thank Amanda Gorman for being so eloquent. I taught the poem to my 7th grade students this past week, and we analyzed the author's claim. And the students said the most important lines came at the end when Amanda Gorman said, "For there is always light if we're brave enough to be it, if we're brave enough to see it." It is time for all of us to be brave enough to stand up and say, we need our libraries back and open full-time in every school and give the teachers the raise they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Van 2? Oh, she had to leave? Okay. Are you Samuel Sandoval? Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, Dr. Aguirre and members of the board. My name is Samuel Sandoval, and I am the father of a current senior at Bonita Vista High School. I am here to request immediate change in policy with regards to how students earn the right to be an honor graduate. The current policy is inequitable, discriminatory, and punitive to many students because it only recognizes students who complete the IB program and excludes everyone else. Graduating in white is a very visible and honorable distinction during graduation, and this honor is traditionally given to students who achieve exceptional academic level based on their GPA. Every school, we are aware that every school has different criteria, but it's always connected to GPA. This is not true at Bonita Vista High School. The current policy is discriminatory because it fails to recognize many deserving students that are in other programs, very rigorous programs like the AP program, English language learners, special education students, and any student who is in the CTE pathway is not recognized or not even given the opportunity to receive this honor. By only recognizing the accomplishments of a single group, it actually causes a very obvious division among students, which goes against the culture of unison and inclusiveness that we all seek. The WAS committee actually pointed something in regards to this in their report as a finding, and I quote, "The need to further cultivate school climate, inclusivity, restorative practices, social justice, and anti-discrimination among staff and students." That was what they cited as one of their findings. The policy is punitive to students like my daughter. She has earned a high ranking in her class and has demonstrated exceptional GPA. And she does not get to be recognized, along with many other students that are in her situation. But students in the IB program get the honor in graduation regardless of their GPA. This is completely unfair. We have the support of many students and staff and parents, including the PTSA president and vice president who could not attend today because of prior commitments. However, we did collect in the last 2 days 162 signatures from members of the community and students who support our cause. Ms. Van Tu actually had to leave. We were not aware that many people were going to speak, so she had to leave. Let me see. We are proposing changing the policy to a more equitable one that recognizes all students who have a high level of academic excellence and citizenship. This will create a more cohesive and unified culture at our school. I want to point out that I did meet with the leadership team and Dr. Del Rosario, and they were very receptive and agreed that the policy was not fair. However, they did not seem to have any urgency in changing the policy, at least for this year. We are asking the board for your support to help encourage the leadership of Bonita Vista High School to do the right thing and recognize exceptional students, beginning with the graduating class of 2022. Because these students don't have another chance to be recognized. We believe that recognition should be based on performance, not membership. Thank you.
Thank you. If you have those signatures, if you want to leave them with Ms. Vicedo, that would be great. Thank you.
Maria Teresa Harris.
Good evening, Ms. Stubblefield, Dr. Aguirre, trustees. I'm thankful for all the people that spoke before me because it cut a whole card. I don't need to repeat. We've been working hard. We haven't, you know, and you know. And I want to believe, I sincerely want to believe that as trustees, you thought your bargaining team was going to treat us with the respect dictated at the bargaining table. I want to believe that. Just in the same way that I want to believe that I, as a teacher, a veteran teacher, 25 years, right, will be able to, with the few years that I have left teaching, work in a classroom without a mask, looking at my students, feeling the specialness that occurs in a classroom, right? I want to believe that. That's what keeps me. That's what made me go back in April, because I know it's something that we can get through. And our teachers out there have done everything to make that possible, right? Everything. I started in the fall attending a meeting in person, but I couldn't handle sitting in the back with the 6-foot distance when it wasn't happening in the classroom. A parent spoke earlier about teachers, what are we doing in the classroom? Well, I can tell you what I was doing in the classroom every single day, asking every single student to put on the mask properly, to respect the spacing, and to keep each other safe, because we had to keep each other safe. And now, when we talk about social emotional learning, my president, the National Education Association president, Becky Pringle, I had the honor to hear her this past weekend, and she said, yes, you take care of yourselves, but taking care of yourself also means putting yourself in a place that is going to respect you, that will honor your work. You do not stay in relationships that are not positive. I want to stay in a relationship with Sweetwater Unified High School District. I want to continue and finish my years here because I did find a home. And I just wanted to make sure that you knew that I want to believe that you have approved already an on schedule, a real on schedule percentage. And I want to believe your bargaining table, your side of the bargaining table, I guess, your side of the bargaining table will let us know that on Friday. I really want to believe that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Danae Ramirez. Danae Ramirez.
Good evening, trustees. My name is Danae Ramirez. I'm a parent of a 9th grader at East Lake High School. And I'm here today to speak on behalf of the Compact for Success program. But before I speak on behalf of that program, I'm here to talk about my son's future. But as I listen to the teachers and the support that they need, I'm getting concerned that I should also be concerned about his current education. And so I just want to express my support for our teachers here today first. But I will continue on to the Compact for Success. So I'm sure, as you all know, the program is an agreement between Sweetwater Union High School District and San Diego State University, and it guarantees admission to our students if they meet certain eligibility requirements. And I was very disappointed to learn that the program is not being continued for students that are graduating in 2025. And that means that my son and all Sweetwater students that are 9th graders and that are entering high school will not have the opportunity to participate in that program. I am personally a graduate of UC San Diego and of San Diego State University. And my husband and I are both graduates, and we bring value to this community with our education. We pay property taxes that support our schools. This initiative, should it not continue, could impact real estate prices. It could impact your enrollment. If people learn that this is no longer a benefit to attend a public school, they could go to a charter school or they could go to a private high school. So I'm here to urge you to continue to prioritize this program for our students, not just for 2025, but beyond, because this program benefits many of the children that were talked about today, first-time college students, our communities of color, everybody, not just our communities of color, but everybody, every high school student that is in the Sweetwater Union High School. So I have a specific ask, and that is to agendize this issue, to bring back a report and talk about it, and to ask the superintendent to prioritize this program and to continue to push to continue the program for our kids. I know that there have been some discussions and some talk about, some rumors really, that it's going to continue, but I have not seen any information. And in fact, the website, San Diego State's website, says that the program, it alludes to the fact that it ends in 2025 because it says it's continued through 2024. So thank you for your time, and should this issue be agendized, I will return with other parents that are interested in the district, not just in East Chula Vista, but in West Chula Vista as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
No further speakers.
Thank you for your comments. Clerk of the Board, will you please read the items being pulled from the consent agenda?
Yes, I have one correction to read. On Board Agenda Item K6, the backup document for the district financial audit has been revised. Pages 6 and 7 of the engagement letter should reflect a total fee of $154,500, with the invoice amounts on page 7 changed to reflect this new total. The backup document will be replaced after board approval. The following items are pulled: F3 by staff, G4 by Mrs. Hall, G11 by the public, K1 by Mr. Tarantino, K5 by staff and the public, P1 by Mr. Tarantino, and P3 by Mrs. Hall, and Q2 by the public.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Moved as read.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Stubblefield,
Yes.
Arencibia,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Solis.
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. F3, would you like to start for us?
I could go. Trustee Hall had something that she wanted to say.
Okay, Mr. Segura, go ahead.
Thank you, President Solis. So I have a few things that I've done over the last couple weeks. I'll lead off with what I wrote down here, in that I was able to attend Chula Vista High's production of The Little Shop of Horrors. That was a really, really fun production to see. Me and my wife really enjoyed it. Appreciated the work that the students and the staff and the actors all did to make that happen. I mean, they do phenomenal. They're just phenomenal artists, and I really enjoy that, and glad that that's actually being done now, and that we can go see that. Also attended, went to the at San Isidro High School. The ROTC building is, or facility is being remodeled, or actually tore down, and new ones are being built. So went to the groundbreaking with that, and it was really good to see the students in their uniforms, and the San Isidro Cougar doing their thing. So it's super exciting to see that happen at the school, and it'll be done in a pretty quick manner. Also, I went on, as Dr. Aguirre mentioned, the construction site tours at Bonita Vista. There, I'm sure, I don't know, Dr. Arencibia will mention it, but it was really good to see the progress of that, and to talk to the superintendent there of that construction site, and he said that there were a number of the construction people working on the job were from local. So that was good to hear, and just you can tell that they have they're experts in doing that sort of work. It was really good to see that. And then we went to Hilltop Middle and toured the new science. I think it's Building 600. That was really cool. We need those at every campus. Then I went to Mar Vista and saw that pool. That was very incredible, and I can't wait till that's done. And then that we have groundbreaking there. I know the community was definitely looking forward to that. What else? We, as Dr. Aguirre also mentioned, we did some lobbying with our lobbyist, and I won't that was last week. And actually, there's some more lobbying with the CSBA that's happening this week. Basically, we'll be saying the same stuff. But really a big ask are just that the legislature and the governor should invest heavily in the LCFF base beyond COLA, and that's what we really need to address a lot of things at our school to retain high quality personnel. It's so needed. Also, we talked about the COVID ADA relief and where that's at and what we're looking for. Also asked for school employer pension relief to be a priority, and to be non Proposition 98 general fund. So I think that's super important. What else do I got here? We had a really good. We also met with state and assembly members. It was Dr. Getty. It was the CFO, our general counsel, and other people. It was really, really good. So I enjoyed that and talking that, and look forward to continue those conversations so that we can come get more money for our base funding and address the issues that are before us today and going forward. I think that's all I have. Give me 1 second there, if you would, just to look over that. Yep, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Segura. Mrs. Hall?
Thank you, President Solis. I'd like to report that our board's Audit and Finance Subcommittee met. Let me turn this. Our board's Audit and Finance Subcommittee met at the end of February with a full agenda, several items of which were on tonight's agenda. I will speak to those items if they are pulled, but each is strongly supported by the committee. So our recommendation is for the board to approve the items on the audit engagement, on the audit charter, subcommittee charter, and on the board policy that are part of what the committee recommends. Included in our meeting were ongoing audits conducted by the internal auditors as well. And there were findings and action needed by various sites, associated student bodies, and those schools' responses and action plans, not only to answer the auditors' concerns, but their action plans and spend down plans were included for any large balances that remained on the books at the end of the last fiscal year. Our committee highly recommends that such responses by school sites to the internal auditors be submitted in a similar format, so a more formal format. And I think that the internal auditors indicated they do have a template for that, but that it also be submitted with original signatures or wet signature of the principal of each school. This will give proper weight to the response, since the principal is ultimately responsible to ensure all the activities for their site are in compliance. I'd also like to thank the principals that requested training for their staff, so everyone at the schools who are working on these and as well as the club advisors are well knowledgeable on the processes and procedures for the ASB. So I thought that was a really, really well done meeting, and I want to thank everyone who participated in it. We have a good committee, so I want to thank you for that. And that's all I have right now. Thank you. And I'll be participating in the advocacy meetings with our state legislators this week as well. I'm thankful they're being held virtually. But yes, we'll be working on those advocacy points, as Mr. Segura pointed out, and I'm really looking forward to that. It's always been a good effort, coordinated by CSBA as well. So thank you, everyone. It's good to see you. And I do have one request, and that is that Dr. Aguirre would look into the Bonita Vista High policy referred to by Mr. Sandoval, and see if that can be resolved before the end of the year, so that as he requested, all the students are able to be honored appropriately. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing more news about our finances. I just want to say it has been a long road to get where we are with the positive certification we received and was confirmed by the county office of ed and the state as well. It's been a long time coming, and it still means we need to keep on the road we've been going to get that, to maintain that. So thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Mrs. Hall. Anybody else? Mr. Tarantino?
Sure. Thank you, President Solis. The following students the following middle school students were recognized in the San Diego Union Tribune County-wide Spelling Bee for middle schoolers. And these students will compete for the championship and chance to represent San Diego County in the Scripps National Spelling Bee to be held later on this month. And these are the students. Adrian Molina from Castle Park Middle, Jay Villasenor from Granger, Logan Kagi from Montgomery Middle, and Eddie Koronk from Options Secondary. Congratulations to all of you, and I wish you well as you compete in the what's known as the finals. I had the opportunity to attend the Sweetwater Union High School District STEM Fair, and I'd like to thank Brahim Wahib and Science TOSA Don Castillo for all of their help and assistance in putting this together. And I'd like to announce that the high school sweepstakes winner for this event was Carlo Bernas, and the middle school sweepstakes winner was Grace Lee. The following students were honored, the following ASB presidents were honored at the Laurel for Leaders Luncheon, which was held last week. And they are Jasmine Huerta from Bonita Vista High, Milana Collier from, I'm sorry, she was from Bonsall, not in our district. And Angelica Villarreal from Castle Park, Ashley Fairfun from Chula Vista High, Bethany Kim from Eastlake High, Victoria Daniels from Hilltop High, Melissa Mariantes from Mar Vista High, Ryan Fernandez from Montgomery High, Jessica Rubio from Olympian, Melanie Grace McIntyre from Otay Ranch High, Michelle Perez from Palomar High, Vince Alian from San Ysidro High, Metzel Carbajal from Southwest High, and Sebastian Pineda from Sweetwater High School. Congratulations to all of the Laurel for Leaders recognitions. I'd also like to thank Omar De Leon, who works in our Grants and Communications Department, for all of the pictures and all of the video accounts of all of the activities that are going on throughout the district. They're really very well done, Omar, and congratulations, and thank you for always being available to document all the good things that we do for students and staff. I also have two asks. First one, I was not aware that the Compact for Success was sunsetting. I was under the impression that we had renegotiated a new contract and that it was going to continue, but apparently parents have received some information that I was not aware of. So I'd like an update in terms of whether or not the compact is going to sunset or if it is going to continue into the future. And then my second ask is, I'd like some information as to how certificated personnel are determined to be placed on excess lists. Having worked at a site, I know that if enough students don't sign up for a class that a teacher teaches, then that class does not get on the master schedule. And if it is a specialty class, then sometimes the teacher is put on an excess list. I am not familiar as to how counselors are placed on an excess list, especially counselors who are at the district level. Who makes that determination, and what is it based upon, especially in a high-need area, such as the Youth in Transition Program, and also when there are plans to bring on another manager, a program manager, to manage that program, as well as some other personnel. So how could that be determined as an excess when we're planning on bringing on more staff to take over those responsibilities? And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tarantino. Mr. Segura had something that he missed.
Yeah, so in regard, I knew there was one other thing. I attended the robotics competition, not this weekend, but the weekend prior. But I do have a report that from that state competition, and when I was there, I just walked around. I just kind of like just talking to people, and it didn't like make a big thing that I'm a board member and I wear my thing so people could see that I am if they care. But just talked to some parents, and they were from out of Orange County, and they just expressed how that, like, yeah, we were here 2 years ago when with our kid when this was happening, and we had a really good. It was really well done, and they really appreciated it, and so they said we're back. So that was good to hear. It was a real good positive. I wanted to pass that on. But Team 507A and Team 507D from Otay Ranch High School, they've made it to the World Championships in Dallas in May, as well as Team 8301C from San Isidro and Team 6446C from Rancho Del Rey Middle. So those teams are going to the world. So that's really a giant accomplishment. So I think they deserve a round of applause, and I'm sure we'll be seeing them.
Thank you, Mr. Segura. Dr. Arancibia?
Yeah, no, I want to make sure that everybody, knows, we're very appreciative, and I think of the work that you're doing. I know it's been hard. It's funny because I just went back to teaching last month, and I face to face. It's an intense thing, and I totally get that, and I want you to know that I totally get that. I wanted to also let you know that I visited a couple of construction sites. The Bonita construction site was really, really, really impressive at the level that it's at. I think it's been very, very well planned out, and it's the first, real improvement that they've had on that campus in well over 25, if not 35 years. So I was very impressed that the science buildings over at Hilltop were also really, really impressive. And I just want to say thank you to Bonita Vista today. I did a guest lecture at Ms. Meza's AP Lit class in Spanish, and they received me very, very well. It's really nice to teach literature, and with students that are really, really into it. So, I totally get the instructional part. It's something that's just hard to be able to navigate right now. Mentally, it's a lot of stress. So, but it was just a wonderful experience. The students were really well prepared, and just a wonderful class. That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Arancibia. Yes, thank you, Ms. Hall and Mr. Tarantino, for your asks. I was going to ask about those two with regards to the Compact for Success and the senior policy at Bonita. So thank you for asking that. And for Mr. Segura, thank you for bringing up the Sacramento visits online. Those were very informative, and our team did a fantastic job trying to explain to our legislators how we need more funds so we can make sure that our teachers are well taken care of. Because we understand the burnout and the hard work that's been done. And with regards to honoring our own, we will be holding it in person, May 7th, 2022. I know right now, I think we have about a week or two for scholarships for our students. So if, I'm sure, Dr. Aguirre, you received an email from the committee. So if you could just send it out again to make sure our kids apply. I think right now there was like 19 or so that have applied. So the chances are good. So let's get our students in there. Yep. So with that, everybody enjoy your spring break, and we're going to take a 10-minute recess. to reconvene our meeting. G4, pulled by Ms. Hall. Ms. Hall, can you hear us? No, she can't. Ms. Hall, can you hear us? Okay, we're on G4. So pulled by you.
Thank you. Yes, I couldn't hear. You're right. I guess that the computer audio hadn't been turned on yet. Thank you, President Solis. I'm pulled the item because I just want to know, is the code, is this the right one? On the item, it talks about a maximum on the summary that the allowable costs are up to $22,800, but in the body of the agreement, it only says that the district, the full payment would be a sum not to exceed $14,000. So I wanted an explanation about the variance.
Dr. Aguirre?
Thank you, President Solis. I'll ask Dr. Alvarez to address that question. Dr. Alvarez.
Good evening, Dr. Aguirre, President Solis, Ms. Hall, board members, and public. I'm looking at the fringe benefits and the payment, according to the contract, says that it would be $9,454 for salary and $4,209 for fringe benefits. I'm not sure where the $22,000 came from, so what we can do is we can work with finance to make sure that the calculations are correct. I think at the point there may have been an estimate, and so we'll finalize that to the particular staff person.
Okay. Well, it says that on that same item where the 14,000 is noted, it also says that the Jewish Community Foundation will send payment in full no later than February 15th, 2022. That's last month. So I have to ask, this is not an assigned agreement, but it sounds like they're already paying us. So was this a ratification, or was it brought to the board for approval?
Just 1 second.
I mean, was it brought before it was agreed to, or is it a ratification on this agreement?
So this was an approved ratified.
Right. So it is a ratification.
Correct.
Well, in
And just
that
may I
case,
clarify?
it might have been helpful on a ratification if we get a signed agreement on it. When it's a ratification, that would help clarify for us as board members that it is a ratification, because sometimes that language is just kind of confusing.
And Ms. Hall, if it may help, we have had this agreement in the past. This is part of that discrete math collaborative that we've had with UCSD and San Diego State. Now the Jewish Family Services is supporting some of that funding. This teacher in particular that we're funding already had a 0.2 that was assigned through a different grant. And then this was the augmented portion of that. So that may be where there's some calculations that we have to revise.
Thank you. And I did understand that it's like an extension or an augmentation, like you say. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Entertain a motion for G4.
A motion to approve.
We have a motion.
Second.
And a second.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
G11, pulled by the public.
Yes, I have one speaker, Maria Teresa Harris.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Super quick. The G items are instructional support. That implies you have quality educators. you know what you need to do to keep quality educators. Thank you.
Thank you.
No further speakers?
Make a motion for approval.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll make
I'll
a motion
second.
to approve.
And a second.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
K1, pulled by Mr. Tarantino.
Thank you, President Solis. I just wanted to know, my question is about Dylan Barker and the System Improvement Innovation is the department, but we're paying $12,000 for basically advertisements to encourage students to go to Southwest Middle. And I was wondering how successful has this gentleman been in this endeavor at other schools?
Dr. Aguirre?
Thank you, President Solis. So the broader aspect to that item is, again, understanding that we must be proactive when it comes to addressing our projected enrollment declines. This is part of our effort to, again, address part of that. So to that end, Dr. Winter's been working with the school, with Southwest Middle, to bring this consultant forward to really kind of provide some of that support. So with that, I'll ask Dr. Winters to provide some of the specifics. Dr. Winters.
Sure. Good evening. Thank you for the question, Mr. Tarantino. Mr. Barker is not working with any other school, nor has he. The connection was made with the principal, and he does a lot of work in the social marketing sphere. And we did ask him to give us a proposal for multiple schools, but we chose to just do it with one school to test them out, just for that very reason, to see how effective it would be. And he will track very carefully the impressions that are made and the Facebook ads in particular, which are the main focus of this work, to see if it is of any impact. So we felt it was a good way to try it in a school that's losing enrollment, but not to commit much more than that until we would see, for example, how effective it truly could be.
No, I have no problem with the program. I just wanted to know, has he had any experience? And based on what you're saying, Dr. Winters, could we have a report on when the report comes in? Can that be made to the board as well? So that maybe if it's good enough and successful, we could expand it to other schools that are experiencing declining enrollment.
Yeah, I would be more than happy to provide that at the conclusion of the program.
Thank you. That's all I have, and I'll move approval if there's no other questions.
All right.
I'll second.
Motion and a second.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right. K5, pulled by staff.
Thank you, President Solis. This item is our second interim report for 2021-22. So Dr. Sockel will be providing our second interim report as well as a recommendation for the certification of this report. Dr. Sockel.
Thank you, Dr. Aguirre. Good evening, President Solis, Board Trustees, Cabinet, and community. So we will be presenting the second interim financial report today. Let me see. And these are the items that we'll be highlighting this evening. The requirements of the Ed Code, along with the timeline and a few other items related to our multi-year assumptions, and our restricted funds, and then our staff recommendation. If it's going forward. Oh, there we go. So one key consideration compared to where we were at with first interim back in December, this is now an update on our budget for 21-22, reflecting all of our year-to-date activity through the month of January. So now we have an opportunity to see how things are trending and then what we anticipate the end of this fiscal year will look like. We also have another opportunity, the board does this during first interim and this second interim reporting cycle, is provide a certification for the district's financial position, not just for this year, but 2 additional years. So it's a 3-year view, and that is reflective. There's 3 different categories. So positive, which is where the district was at first interim, and the county did affirm that in January. So that is that the district can meet its obligations for the 3 years. Qualified, again,
we've been there as a district in terms of the policy, the qualified and negative. There are some challenges in meeting those financial obligations. But I am happy to report, and we will mention at the end of the report, that we are maintaining that positive certification at this point. The timeline here, just for the board, highlights the different points in time, as you've heard me say this many times, in terms of our assumptions, because our budget is based on assumptions and the latest information. The second interim report gives us an opportunity to now incorporate the governor's proposal that he had for 22 and 23, for the 22-23 year. So there are some considerations there that does impact our local control funding formula that were included in his proposal in January. So now we will include that in our out-year projections, particularly for 22-23. And so those assumptions, because of the revenues, are very much centered around enrollment and average daily attendance. It is an area, and as board trustees, as you mentioned earlier, and as well as Dr. Aguirre, we did have some advocacy meetings last week with staff in Sacramento, and there is a consensus. Folks are hearing about the challenges that school districts are encountering, particularly around average daily attendance. So you see how here that the attendance relief has assisted the school district over the last 2 years, but when you see that considerable drop into next year, that does have an impact to the overall revenues. And that is one area that is fluctuating. The governor did propose in his January budget to evaluate that and have it funding based on a 3-year average. That's still in discussions. That's an area that's still to be seen how that'll be solidified in perhaps the May revise, and then ultimately in the June final adopted budget. And then also there are several bills at the legislative level looking also at enrollment, because it's kind of looking at that, again, the daily attendance and also enrollment throughout the state. Various districts are being impacted by that. And it's to see if it can help kind of soften that decline over the next few years. And this screenshot is just kind of a snapshot from a number standpoint where we've lost students over the last few years. You can see since 2015-16 to now we're a little over 4,000. And so this particular slide highlights the various elements of the local control funding formula, the calculation. We do review that calculator with the county every reporting cycle. One thing to highlight here is FCMAT does release that calculator. They have not updated, because of these moving pieces with what's in the governor's proposal, the factor related to average daily attendance. So our calculation at this point in time reflects where the district is now, and it's that first column for 21-22. If you look at that last row, 88%. At this point in time, the district's around 89%. The district is traditionally around 94%. So that difference in percentage has a significant impact to revenues, and why the advocacy piece of it is very key at the state level to see those funds support school districts given this current time frame. So that is one consideration for the current year, because what's based on this information for 21-22 is what becomes the funding basis into the next budget year as we start the work for 22-23. As we look into the multi-year projections, one other factor where you see some of the differences from the first interim reporting cycle to the second interim reporting cycle is the cost of living adjustment. The governor, during budget adoption, we were working with a number of 2.48%. In January, he included a 5.33%. Again, that number will also more than likely be solidified by the time May revise comes around. That's usually the time frame when that COLA is finalized. But with that assumption change, that does have an increase to the revenues for a little over $11 million. And again, these are all the other revenue assumptions with some of our other funding sources. And this all ties to also the standardized account code structure report known as the SACS report, which is in your packet. I'll highlight these here. And so this is a snapshot of our budget projections for 21-22. We put the different reporting cycles side by side. You can see some of the key changes from first interim to second interim are around some salary line items and some benefits. And if you look at that last line, you'll see that the fund balance was $76 million at first interim. It's now 66. That is attributed, if you recall, we had two items in the reserve at first interim. One was related to the local control accountability plan reserve, that increase that was in the governor's budget over the summer. That was guidance from the county to add that to the reserve until the plan was brought forward to the board, which was just done a few weeks ago. So now we were able to remove that from the reserve and add it to those expense line items. And since a good portion of it is attributed to summer school, you see that increase in certificated salaries there. The other amount that was in the reserves at first interim was the payoff of the supplemental early retirement program balance. It was a little, almost $8 million. Now, because that was paid in January per the board action in November, that becomes an expense in essence in that line item for benefits. So that's the uptick you see in the benefits line item as well. So with that, that comes out of the reserves and becomes an expenditure. Okay. And then now we look at the multi-year projection. So where we stand at the end of this year, I mentioned we're projecting at around $66 million. We have our economic uncertainty percentage, which is the 2%, which is required by the Ed Code. And then we have some other contingencies. And those that have been set up during budget adoption in June are related to our out years. As we've mentioned, we have a decline in enrollment based on the current projections at this point in time. And you'll see that on the line 11, with those revenue changes and the expenditure projections, there is a structural deficit. The cost of living adjustment proposed by the budget did offset that amount. At first interim, we were around a little over almost $21 million. And so that was able to offset that. There were some other expense considerations that we had to increase at this point. So those numbers are reflected there. And then you can start to see those column C and column D, the declining enrollment reserve is utilized. That savings, in essence, does offset that structural deficit. And it's with this 3-year snapshot that we're able to go back to the county and to the California Department of Ed with positive certification. Okay. And then the next few slides, just to share the one-time funds, both at the state level and the federal level, where the budget is and where the expenditures are to date. We do have to submit on a quarterly basis an update to CDE, also the trend and the spend down here. Yeah, just a snapshot. From a cash flow perspective, we are not anticipating for the remainder of this school year to utilize the County of San Diego Treasury for any cash flow borrowings, and we're commencing our work now for 22-23 to see if we'll need any of that borrowing as well. And the next few slides are restricted funds, adult ed, our cafeteria, and all of our capital funds. Provide you a snapshot here of the activity and what we anticipate the balances will be through June. Okay. And then, in closing, our staff recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the second interim report in your package of the SACS report with positive certification similar to what we recommended at first interim. And also to note, we did meet with the County Office of Education representatives and shared this information with them, so they're aware of the current financial position.
Thank you, Dr. Salkin. Any speakers?
Yes, we have one speaker, Maria Teresa Harris.
With deep respect, Ms. Salkin is fantastic at her job. And with the right ask, and that ask would be, how can we find a way to honor our teachers and their work. I am sure, given all the contingency budget, all the different funds, that something is there. And I would ask humbly of the trustees to ask that of our superintendent and our CFO. Thank you.
Thank you.
No further speakers.
Questions or comments from the board?
Thank you, Dr. Sacco.
Mrs. Hall?
After her.
Thank you. Yes, I do have a couple of questions. If you don't mind, on page 6, the hold harmless ADA funding was the same as 2019-20. So I'm wondering, so last year that's how we got funded, or this year. Could you remind me what was our actual ADA last year?
Dr.
I don't have that with me, Trustee Hall, but I could pull that together for you. It was much lower than this. I mean, the district certainly benefited by keeping these numbers stable from 1920.
Right, right. It was not as, it had fallen under the 2019 ADA
Correct.
is what I'm trying to get
Correct,
to.
both years, yes.
So if we'd been funded with that and not held harmless, it definitely would have been a big factor in us not getting to a positive certification. Page 13, the classified salaries dropped from first to second interim. Do you have an explanation as to why that happened? What was the drop caused by?
Some of those salaries are also us reviewing at the second interim any possible savings of positions that have not been filled. There are some positions that have been a challenge to fill, and so we've recognized some of those savings during this projection.
Thank you. And on page 11, on the reserve assumptions, could you explain what contingency reserves are?
So contingency reserves are in excess of the 2%. What we've shared with the board during budget adoption was those contingencies, along with the declining enrollment, would help offset future structural deficits. So it's a backup savings account in essence.
So that 3% is not a requirement in law.
Correct.
It's just a safety net.
Correct.
That we've already got a safety net in reserve for declining enrollment.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. No other questions, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hall.
Motion to approve.
Oh,
I'm sorry. If you're going to comment, I apologize, Nick.
Mr. Segura, go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, President Solis. So, yeah, Paula asked the question. I was going to ask, I'll just ask it again on page 14. Dr. Garrity, just line item 15. Just remind everybody what's in there and what we're using that money for, and that sort of thing. I know we have the 2% state requirement, which is great. We have that in order, and then our declining enrollment on line item 16. Just more explanation on line item 15 on page 14, sir.
Sure. So the item around declining enrollment is intended to be a buffer, as that's money that's not reoccurring. Rather, it's meant to be a buffer when that declining enrollment hits. In essence, that is what's going to be kind of the reserve that is going to be dipped into. So right here it goes through 23, 24. If there would be an additional year, that's where that funding would really help support the projected decline in enrollment. So that's in essence the goal of the declining enrollment reserve, is to provide the buffer, because otherwise it would be a severe impact to levels of staffing, and we want to make sure we mitigate for any declining enrollment. As we look to our feeder districts, and as we look to projections that we receive through Davis Demographics, who's undergoing a study, we see that it's a very real issue that we will have to contend with. It's not in front of us at this time. It has been, but at this point, we're in a place of stability. But moving forward, absent any increases to the base funding or absence to any, again, one-time funding, this is what that reserve is meant to serve as a buffer. We're in an odd time because the reality is the reserves are in a good place. But the challenge is that a lot of that is for one time. And so that's the challenge we're trying to face is there is one-time funding available. However, it's not recurring in nature. And whenever you look at more kind of structural investments, those do tend to be recurring. And so those are the areas where we do try to find a level of balance and an equilibrium.
Thank you, sir. So was that on line item 16? Or are you saying that's both 15
it's for
and
both,
16?
It's for both
Okay.
15 and 16, yes.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Tarantino? Mrs. Hall?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say, this is a budget projection on page 14. We're budgeting by enrollment, but we get funded by ADA. And that's the current dilemma, because every time we turn around, we can project great enrollments, but it's seats, it's children in the seats that really funds our district ultimately. Right, so it's it's really unknown between when you're developing a budget in the spring of every year and when you get down into the instruction side in the classroom. And this year has been particularly challenging. We are advocating that the state legislators really consider changing the funding formula for how it's based, instead of being based on ADA, to really look at funding it on a modified enrollment. But that could take time. I think, right, Dr. Aguirre and President Solis and Trustee Segura, you've probably been hearing that and been advocating. One of the things they're talking about is a 3-year average. That was in the governor's proposal. Those are still unknowns. We don't really know. And sometimes what we hear in the news and what is played out in between us developing a budget and getting it approved and the county approving it and the state approving it, there's all those perspectives that are different maybe from ours. But I want to say I'm very, I think staff has done a really, really tremendous job. It was just in January, or last month in February, when the financial advisor that was assigned by our County Office of Ed announced that that was his last meeting. He was done with us because we had done that good work and we were out of a deficit. We still have a structural issue to deal with. We still have a lot of variables that may hit us before we have our budget adoption in June. And then in the fall, when we have actual funding, the P2 is certified, all that has to happen for us to really understand where everything plays out. This is good news. And there may be some room for, adjustments, but we still have a long ways to go. We just got that positive certification. We just got it. The ink just dried on it. We need to really keep moving forward and make sure, because I think we do need to honor everyone that works hard in our district on every level. And I know we will do that moving forward. So thank you for that. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Hall. Thank you for bringing that up, because when we did have our meetings, legislators and some staff they didn't understand how it worked. And as we spoke to them, especially Dr. Salkeld, explained to them how this works. So, yeah, so moving forward, hopefully we can get the state to move away from ADA. So thank you for bringing that up. Appreciate that. All right, any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Dr. Arancibia.
No, I just want to go ahead and move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion.
Again, Dr. Salkeld.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
And a second.
Arancibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
P1, pulled by Mr. Tarantino.
I'll withdraw my pull, and if there's no other questions, I will move approval.
All right.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura? Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
P3, pulled by Mrs. Hall.
Yes, thank you, President Solis. I read through the policy and we discussed it at our audit and finance subcommittee meeting. I just wanted to kind of put it in a little bit more clarity, so I submitted to Deanne some language to modify what was in the board agenda item. If Deanne would please read that change for us. And I think it makes it's just a different in the flow of the item and kind of a little bit more clarity.
Yes, so in the section.
Yeah, thanks.
In the section that, with the language that we wanted to add regarding the community members, Mrs. Hall wanted to add additional language so that it states, the 2 board members will be nominated and appointed by the Board of Trustees each December during the annual Board of Trustees organizational meeting. The 2 community members will be selected in alternating years for a 2-year term with a 4-year maximum term limit through an open application process with final recommendation from the 2 audit subcommittee board members for appointment by the Board of Trustees at a regular board meeting in July. In the event of a community member vacancy, the 2 board members serving on the committee will be delegated by the Board of Trustees to appoint an interim community member for the remainder of the vacant term. And if the board approves revising this policy with this language, we would also ask that the motion include direction to staff to also update the charter, because there is a charter for the Audit Finance Subcommittee that you approved on a previous item on this agenda under consent. So we would ask for permission for staff to revise that charter to coincide with the policy and not have to bring that back to the board.
Perfect, thank you. Questions or comments? Entertain a motion? As
I'll
read
make a
by-
motion.
I'll second it.
As read by Ms.
As
Vista.
amended, right?
Yes, as amended,
as
as read, and with the direction for the charter to be updated. Is that
Thank you.
correct?
Correct,
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Hall? Okay, perfect.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, Q2, pulled by the public.
Yes, I have 2 speakers. Trevor Angood.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Geary. I want to look back to June 24th, 2020. I used to go to the library in the mornings during lunch. I know how important they are. Or excuse me, I know how important librarians are. I think the first thing we do once we straighten out is that we get them, meaning librarians, back. Those are direct quotes from now Board President Solis. Board Member Segura at the same meeting, I don't agree with the process and there's a lack of transparency in the elimination of teacher librarians. We just had the one PKS meeting in February 2020, but with no plan on how to serve students that were utilizing libraries. In the almost 2 years since that meeting, teacher librarians have tried to navigate through this lack of a plan from this district through textbook and device distributions, library hours, or lack thereof, and trying to collaborate with colleagues to support students and colleagues, parents, and the community. With the inequitable FTE allotment, students of Sweetwater find libraries closed while librarians are off teaching other content courses. Your decision to understaff libraries means students and staff have nowhere to turn when they are looking for help with a technology question, looking for resources to start researching, or checking out a book or 5. Teacher librarian colleagues of mine have seen in email exchanges where staff members request to schedule a class visit or wanting a lesson by the teacher librarian. Those same staff members are then disappointed and most likely canceled because the teacher librarian is only available for 1 or 2 common periods. Dr. Aguirre, you also spoke at an October 2020 meeting with librarians that the inequitable allotments at the time were a down payment on future investment to bring back the full allocations of FTEs for librarians. Back to June 2020, Mr. Solis, you stated that as soon as things get better, we get back on track and do things right for our students. It's about our students. The district is on a firmer financial footing than almost 2 years ago. These full-time allotments allow us to be open at all times for every student, especially those who, quote, spend a lot of time in the library. That's a quote from you, Dr. Aguirre, from the same October 2020 meeting about your childhood. I'm encouraged by the work of the Libraries of the Future SUHSD committee, of which I sit as a member, in partnership with Labor Relations, Curriculum and Instruction, and SEA. I am hoping that this resolution is not just a piece of paper to show off, nor a one-off action to boast on the district website, but is the first step of action. Action that goes on to include the Libraries of the Future presentation to this board later on of the many different ways a library with a fully staffed librarian can support and enrich our students, and leads to the full reallocation of at least one full-time librarian at every school site in this district. Thank you.
Stephanie Hubner? Oh, she left. No further speakers.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board? All right. I just want to say, yes, I did say that, and thank you for bringing that up, because it's true, and I still believe it, and we're going to get there, hopefully, when things are looking better, but we're still not 100% there, so we're going to be working on that. Okay. So with that, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion for approval.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
I think with that, we're done. Meeting adjourned.